Hey, folks, it is January the 6th, 2021, and we are going over, once again, a part of chapter 27. And this has to do with the Second Punic War, otherwise known as the Second Carthaginian War. And today we're going to discuss just exactly what did Hannibal do to make him so successful once he finally crossed the Alps and went into Italy. And so I'm going to start off. And the terms I have on the board are the battles of Ticinus, Trebia, Trasimenus, Quintus Fabius Maximus, the general, the Battle of Cana, the Siege of Syracuse, and Archimedes. So that's what we're going to talk about in just a moment. All right, so let me get my images up for you. So, there we go. Hey, this guy here, Scipio Africanus. We've already mentioned Scipio in your reading. As you see, he's like trying to chase down and find Hannibal. And they're going to figure out, it's like they're going to send armies in different directions. And the one he's leading that goes through Spain is going to figure out that he actually crossed through the Alps. They thought that they could actually meet him in Spain and stop there. They had no idea that he was going to do something as crazy as he did. But we're going to find out more about this fellow later whenever in the Third Punic War, he's going to just completely raze to the ground Carthage, destroy it. They're going to salt the earth. They're going to have Roman pagan priests curse the land. It's just going to be total, everything they can think of, destruction. Yeah. So we've had a few Roman disasters, so the Romans are going to lose over and over again. And we're going to have Quintus Fabius Maximus is going to be made dictator, and he's going to be called the Cunctator, which means the delayer. And he's going to use, bless you, delaying tactics, because he's going to see that Carthage is in a superior position. Rome is not prepared. They need to protect the main city, but at the same time, stall the enemy. The enemy might have been able to come in for a surprise attack, but they had no way to resupply themselves. They would have to establish a very safe base on the coast, and even then, it would be susceptible to interception from the Roman Navy. And so he believed that their army was so big, it could only forage off the land for so long. And how they make it harder on him? They destroyed the homes of the peasants who lived away from Rome. They burnt down the crops, so there'd be no food left for these invaders.
Hopefully they had insurance.
Well, no. But this is going to be a very useful tactic. It's because of this same tactic that the Russians are going to be able to halt and turn back the invading Nazis in World War II, all the way up to the Battle of Stalingrad and Leningrad.
Don't try to invade Russia. It's cold.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was a freakish winter. Well, I mean, that's coming later. That's
That's when you use a battle tactical history.
Yeah.
They'll start a World War II.
Yeah, the Crusades. The Caliphate at that time would do that against the Crusaders. With Napoleon, it was used against him, and he lost the cream of his the Grande Armée when he was invading Russia. So, yeah, delaying tactics are very, very useful. It's what the Vietnamese did against us in the Vietnam War.
Russia's two greatest weapons, the cold and fire.
Cold and fire. Well, yeah, they did burn their own stuff down.
Burning things.
One of the reasons that led them to really accept this tactic is they're going to see that when they met Hannibal on the battlefield on equal terms, it was a disaster. In the Battle of Cana, the Romans greatly outnumbered the Carthaginians. But Hannibal was a great leader, and he was able to completely annihilate this Roman army. It was their best army, their best leaders, their best troops, and they were killed almost to a man. And so as you see here, what they did is they feigned a retreat. And as they feigned the retreat, they were able to let the Roman army push in strong to the center. And then their wings flared out and they turned around and they were essentially able to surround the Romans. They also had a superior cavalry, which was able to turn back the Roman cavalry and then swoop in and completely surround the Romans. They didn't even have a chance to escape, completely encircled like this. And that's one of the main uses of a cavalry, is to one, flank your enemy, go around, and two, stop an escape. Therefore, you can assure a complete victory. And they were able to do both of these with his cavalry at this time and fully encircle the Romans with their infantry. And you can tell just by the scale of the blocks here, it helps to represent just how much larger the Roman army was than the Carthaginian army. But still, their numbers were turned against them. The numbers didn't matter much when their ranks broke down. You had to have a strong, well-controlled formation, not just in a legion, but in any kind of melee combat. You can even see this with police riots and stuff like that. The way the police shield up and they line up, they follow orders the way they do. Those tactics are very important so that a smaller number of people are able to hold off riots. It's like this in all countries. But the Roman legion could be very similar. Once those ranks broke down and it was every man for himself, it was chaos. So as the story goes, Hannibal's brother took all the gold rings from the Roman nobles and went back to Carthage to ask for more money and more troops. The Carthaginians were delighted, but they said, well, if you're that successful, just make it work. Which probably wasn't the best thing for them to do, because later on they would wind up getting killed. So Hannibal is going to make friends with a couple of the southern Roman cities, like Syracuse being one, remember, in Sicily, and also one called Capua. And it's in Capua, I believe, is where they're going to spend their winter. They couldn't really fight in the winter. Ancient armies didn't do that. They didn't fight at night, except in extremely rare cases. And they didn't fight in the winter. That's more of a modern invention. So while there, the moral story goes is that his troops kind of like lived up the good life. They drank, they ate, they slept a lot, but they didn't train. And so being mercenaries they wanted a break while the Romans were getting ready. And the Romans would, of course, come on and attack Syracuse, who they considered to be traitors. Remember, if a city betrayed Rome, if they were their friend and then surrendered or sided with the enemy, the Romans would swear to completely destroy them. And Syracuse knew that. And the siege of Syracuse, which was right along the water, was very long and drawn out. This is much like one of those sieges we would talk about with Alexander the Great. The defenders had a good many inventions, but so did the Romans. Catapults, dart throwers, like they were talking about, which are essentially just catapults, or like ballista, like giant crossbows. Battering rams, warships with towers to try to scale walls. But in Syracuse, the inventor Archimedes is credited with making defensive weapons like cranes that could, according to this artist, pick up boats and capsize them. All kinds of different kinds of missile throwing weapons. And even they're saying a giant mirror that could concentrate sun rays to set ships on fire. They're not so sure about that one because no one's been able to reproduce, using ancient methods, a mirror that could do something like that.
What about the sails?
Maybe they had like a magnifying glass.
The thing is, they're not sure they could get that much refraction to do it. Now, there are places with modern. In fact, the hottest place on Earth is actually it's in Northern Europe, and they use a set of very, very, very expensive mirrors that condense sunlight to actually make this little focal point. And it's the hottest spot on Earth, and they say it's almost as hot as the edge of the sun. And they use it to test like spacecraft materials. It's supposed to be
Just walk
super,
through it.
super hot. Well, I mean, you kind of.
You'll die, but it'll be like an experience.
I forgot what it was
If you
called.
live, you'll get a T-shirt.
But they used it to make this satellite, this probe they were sending to the sun to go collect data. They were trying to make these tiles that were super heat resistant, so the thing could still at least survive long enough to send us some data before it kind of crispy.
Yum.
And of course, the story goes the commander who took Syracuse, and yes, the city was taken, and yeah, all of those poor people were slain by the Romans, except they wanted to spare Archimedes. But Archimedes, being extremely weirdly focused on circles, insulted a Roman soldier, killing him not to mess it up, and the soldier had enough of that, kind of stabbed him, and then he died. So, poor Archimedes. Okay, that's for later.
I just think that story was funny. Soldier walks in and he's like, they must be circles.
I have a feeling he probably sounded. I don't know. Like if somebody's like that, they're probably yeah, they're either like a really condescending jerk, or they're probably just like, wow, this guy's got a mental issue. But in any case,
Maybe he was just insulted that he wasn't scared. I mean, or
maybe
I mean,
maybe that's like his pacifier is making circles when he's scared. I don't know. Hey, in any case,
or maybe he had killed someone that the soldier was close to, and the soldier would have killed him.
yeah.
I mean, he was smart, and he apparently killed a lot of people with that.
He was doing that.
Okay. Okay, so there's a motive.
I mean,
We're opening up a murder mystery. Okay. Okay.
I'm just throwing that
Freelance
idea.
author. Misery, huh? Hey, so what were these three things again?
Oh yeah, weren't they like bottom water, like the river?
Well, yeah. But what happened at these bodies of river? Why do we care?
Oh, because the Romans were there.
Yes, and
Carthage.
They lost.
yeah. So in these battles, Hannibal defeated the Roman legions. So it's like, hey, I'm here, I'm beating you up, you can't stop me, I'm in your backyard, you can't make me leave. So the poor Romans can't get the stranger out of their yard, even with violence. So
Kill him.
that leads us to, they're like, oh gosh, we need somebody to help us get out of this pickle. Fabius, what was Fabius appointed as?
The dictator.
Yeah, remember they could do that in times of like national defense. So made dictator, and what did he do?
Delayed Carthage out of supplies.
Yeah, how do you do that?
Fabian tactics.
Yeah, those are by doing what? Like, give example.
Stalin putting his troops on the high ground,
Really?
limiting enemy's movements.
Okay,
Just
so
following them around creepily, killing
Yeah.
them, destroying the farms.
yes, y'all got it. So yeah, destroyed supplies that could have fell into the enemy's hands. Yes. Avoided battle. It's using the home team advantage. Let's see.
He used
Chase.
his guile more than his strength.
Yeah, chase their army, but he chose very carefully when to fight. And it would be like hit and run. It's like, okay. There's a couple of guys alone over there. Go get them. All right, let's run away. So once again, it's like modern guerrilla warfare. Like you find a lot of that in the 20th century. Chase their army. And here, what about chase the army? And
Just chariot.
I guess that's about good enough. Yeah. So prevented the let's see, the taking the city of Rome. So really, this saved the city, and it's kind of like in ancient. Usually in warfare throughout most of history, if you take the enemy's main city, you win. Especially a civilization that didn't have a king. If it was a monarchy, if you took the king, you won. If you go to other kinds of wars, it's kind of different. Like the U.S. Civil War, it didn't matter if you took the capital of the South. It wouldn't have mattered if they would have took the president of the South, Jefferson Davis. What mattered is they defeated the Confederate Army. Really, that's all the Confederacy was, government-wise, was just its army, as far as having a straight base. So Ulysses S. Grant knew that very, very wisely. All right, so, however, not everybody loved Fabian tactics. Some of them wanted to take the battle to the enemy. And what happened at the Battle of Canaan?
They died.
Yeah, Romans got whooped. So, Hannibal completely wiped out the Roman army. Now, what does he? Does he then go take Rome?
No,
No.
he should
But-
have.
Yeah, he messed up, but he's then decided to take a break. I need a blue.
You don't do it to nation steady.
And what he didn't understand, though, he was very good at winning battles. He didn't understand the long game, was that this is what Fabius was planning. He wanted them to take as much time as possible. So all that did was save Rome. He unintentionally spared Rome through all of that. So, oops. All right. So, Syracuse. What happens there? Who invades Syracuse? Who sieges there?
Just about everyone.
No. Who did they befriend first off?
This is it.
First was Rome, and then they befriended Carthage.
Yeah. Befriended Carthage.
And then they befriended Rome's sword.
So Rome laid siege to the city. So they were attacking the city. And what happened in the siege?
People died.
Yeah. Rome won and punished them dearly. So y'all have heard it time and time again in these ancient battle stories. When they punished a city, ancient civilizations were brutal. Yeah. So don't worry, it's going to be like that forever. So it's always the civilians that suffer the most in warfare. Always.
Yep.
Okay, Archimedes. So what was
Smart guy.
Okay, smart guy. What was he smart about?
I like science.
Geometry
Yeah. So
and engineering.
Smart.
yeah, we'll call him a brilliant mathematician. He's also a philosopher too.
He's more well known for that.
And what did he do for the city?
He defended it using his invention.
Yeah. Built many inventions
Like circles.
It's not built circles.
to.
I think he came up with a 7 out of 22 for the diameter.
Wasn't he also the guy who came up with water displacement? He's
Yeah.
like taking a bath and he noticed the water level go up and he shouted Eureka and he's running naked through the street screaming Eureka.
Yep,
I
that
think-
was him.
I think so. All right, folks.
Maybe
So
he
that's
did have
your,
some mental disorder.
maybe he did.
Most
So-
smart people do.
That's going to end our discussion today. We're going to finish this chapter tomorrow at the last bit and all that good stuff. So I'm going to post the notes here for you on the Google Classroom and we'll meet tomorrow. Bye.
Dude, I did that one again.